Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday morning. It is already the 18th of October. We are running downhill to the end of the year. It's madness. Lebang's shaking her head. She knows what I mean, right?
Yeah, when you say it out loud, it becomes real. Like, okay, crap. Christmas tree, any moment now. Decorations in the mall, any moment now.
It's already happening.
It's real now.
I already saw Christmas decorations being advertised yesterday, and I was like, there it is.
There it is. Mariah Carey is defrosting.
October is here.
Getting ready for that. Well, listen, it is my favorite time of year, but this week's been pretty cold, actually. I mean, I found myself walking around in a jacket yesterday. Sunday was quite chilly. Today's quite chilly. I don't know what the hell's happening here. It's very odd.
Yeah, I feel like we're in Cape Town.
It's like schizo weather. Like you wake up and the weather app will say, expect a bit of sun. And you're like, okay, cool. That means I can just wear this little vest. And then you get to the office and you're like, wow, it's raining. Then you have to put something on. Just be ready for anything is the point. That's what the weather's saying.
Including, as Rebellious Ruth says, Boney M. It's coming to Christmas music. Boney M. And October is when it kicks in. All right, so bit of catching up because we haven't Lebang hasn't been on the show for a couple of weeks. She's been all over the place and busy and running around. I mean,
really?
you weren't. Yes, yeah.
I was here last week. I was definitely with you.
I was here with Bakh'abantu last week.
Was that the week before?
Or was that the week before? Damn.
No, I was definitely here last week. You guys were bashing me about being the scammy of the century, and then Ryan told us that he has joined the scam.
I feel like that's every week.
But before, that is every week. But Ryan has joined your scam society. So listen, no one better than the people who've experienced it to talk about this shit, right?
Yeah. We should like be the people to give you tips on how to not get scammed. Although it's an ongoing thing.
She hasn't quit yet, so
whatever, Ryan.
Hey, listen, you're on your own at home for the first time in like probably 1,000 years, Lebang. You're actually home alone.
I am legit bored out of my skull. All 5 of my kids are not within the household. Wow. They've all gone to visit grannies and whoever. Wow. So it's just like, it's me and my husband. Like we just look at each other every day. Like this would be our lives if we didn't have the kids. So we're just like, we've got too much time on our hands. Like we like partying again on weekends and we're having friends over. And I realized that the kids are the thing that keep us honest and keep us stable, because within ourselves, we don't have any self-discipline. We're buying every day. Nice. If we're not buying every day, we're just getting takeouts every day, which is ridiculous because we absolutely can't afford it. So I desperately need my kids back, is what I'm saying.
They'll keep you level-headed, right? They've prioritized things for you. Yeah. Absolutely.
100%. Yeah. So that's just been like the big revelation for me, is that, you know what? The kids are actually the people that keep this whole thing together. We are just young and wild and free, having way too much fun. And it's almost like people know, because now everybody's suddenly calling people I haven't heard from in years. Years. Hey, Lebang, what's going on? There's a bride at my place. Can you come through? And I'm like, well, you know what? I can. So that's just, that's the weird thing.
How long do you still have this for?
Sure. It's been about a month now. I've got another 3 weeks. It's been a while. They left end of September.
Hold on a second. Is it school holidays?
No, it's not school holidays. So my daughters have gone to their grandparents, and all my daughters are under 3. So they're not even in school.
Okay.
My son has gone to his father's place. So he's just not around. He's at his actual dad's house. So I'm just a childless individual right now.
This is like the holiday you have earned, right?
Yes. You've
earned this because, I mean, my God, 5 kids are a lot of work, and we always talk about this on the show. But like, this is your moment to actually be a free person again. So enjoy it while it lasts. I mean, hell, it sounds like it's a good time.
I mean, I should be enjoying it, but I'm not sitting here saying I'm having all this fun. I'm sitting here saying I want my kids back, right?
That would be. So listen. Also, society judges you if you don't go, I want my kids back. Society's like, oh, she's a bad person because she's not finding
mom. No, not even. I think like the first 2 weeks I was on like some sort of high. It was like, woo woo, let's go, woo woo, this is fun, this is great. And then honeymoon phase like ended, and then reality kicked in. I was like, oh shit, I don't need to take anybody to school in the morning. Holy crap! Now my body's awake at 5, and I'm like, okay, now I only get to the office at 9. 3 full hours of just time. Nobody's screaming in my ears. Like I've got full 10 hours of sleep. It was like, yeah, it's a lot, but
I'm sure the sleep is a thing. Hey, I mean that's a really big positive thing.
Definitely.
Can I show you something? I've just seen something in the drawer here that I haven't seen for ages. This is the best present someone ever gave me. Okay, you're gonna laugh at this. So, this is something someone bought for me. It is a duster. Okay, so it's like a duster, but it retracts back into there. So it's like a keyboard duster for the laptop, right? I can do the screen. I can clean everything around, and it's such a cool present. It probably didn't cost a lot of money, but it's so awesome. It's my favorite present ever. How lame am I?
I was going to say, it's the Harry Potter duster.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's like adulting 101. When things like that excite you, like little dusters get your, your body going. That's when you know.
I'd probably like try and figure out what that was when I first saw it.
Yeah, it looks pretty handy. Well, on the upside, Gareth, I've started like properly like a compost bin in my yard. I've built like some nice big wooden boxes where I just throw all my kitchen waste in there. So that's the part that's really exciting me is now. Yes, I did research. I Googled and YouTube how to build a compost box with like pallet wood. I was out there like zzz. So I'm good to go. Anybody got some kitchen waste? Holla at me. I'm like really in it.
You're making your own compost. Wow.
I am. And that's just because I realize how much kitchen waste I actually have. Like, I feel bad when I throw that stuff away. It's just like it's too much. And also, like, the garden also just has like heaps and heaps of stuff, after it gets cleaned. It's just like grass and leaves and I was like, there has to be a better way to do this. The only option can't be to put this on the back of a bakkie and go dump it somewhere. What are my options? So, yeah. I'll see in like 3-4 months. Hopefully I'll have some like really, really nice soil that I can just like throw back into Mother Earth. And
That's
also
amazing.
teach that to my kids. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
Look at self-improvement Lebang doing her thing and showing the rest.
You just love it.
That's also very, very environmentally responsible and sustainable. So,
nice.
the UN will be sending you your bonas this month. It's
Team Green. That's us. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I saw that Greta Thunberg was arrested again yesterday in London. She's making a habit of this being arrested. I think she's run out of ideas because this is all she does now. And then you see pictures of her, but she's always smiling when she gets arrested.
Yeah.
Has she never seen pictures of actual struggle heroes? They never smile when they get arrested because it's never fun.
She must come to South African jail. She won't be smiling.
No,
shame.
It seems to me like she gets a kid glove treatment, and it's just boring now. Like I don't know who's still excited to see Greta Thunberg being arrested. It's stupid. Hey, speaking of South Africa and our laws, so this is interesting. Bakh'abantu went to the to Constitution Hill the other day. He's trying to.
That's right.
You know how we talk about all these things. It's like Lebang's self-improvement stuff with the compost or, Simpiwe's getting fit for summer, all of that stuff. So Bakh'abantu's thing is he is now trying to be our cultural attaché to everything, right? So he goes to John Kani plays at Theatre on the Square. He's going to Constitution Hill. So he comes back from Constitution Hill the other day and he brings Ryan one of those pocket constitutions.
Yeah, I've got it here.
You got it?
I saw the interaction happen, and I was a little bit confused. I was like, what's happening here? And he's like, Ryan, you're going to take this and you're going to read it. This is going to be good for you. It was almost like a father-son moment. And I was looking at them, I'm like, looking up at Ryan and down at Bakh'abantu. And I'm like, what is happening? But they did their thing.
I'll tell you what it is. He's on these new pills that he was bashing before.
Oh, yeah.
And so now he schemes he's like one of the Incredibles because he can now get all his work done by 11, go visit Constitutional Hill, get a jog in, and then still comes to office and give people constitution books. See? Look at this.
No, that's an
Ah,
updated. I've got the one that they brought out in '94.
of
But
course you
this
do,
is
Gareth.
only apparently they didn't have the full one, so this is just the one chapter. I think it's the Bill
Oh,
of Rights.
yeah, it's human rights is the
So
first chapter of the Constitution.
yeah,
Okay, well, I'm
but I
gonna
mean
see
it's
if I
still
can
pretty cool. I've
find.
never seen one in. I never got one of these as growing up at all. So I was shocked that they even did this.
So
No,
what have you learned so far?
Well, I was just going through it. It's
Fast
not much I
forward,
didn't know. Just basically how to be a citizen.
Okay.
Lebang fast forward straight to like, what have you learned?
Yeah,
Because so that's
exactly.
the point,
How
right?
has your life
And
changed?
yeah, has it? Has it at all?
No, I need to actually sit and read through it properly so I can be like one of those lawyers on Suits. So I can quote it and which
Act 3
subsection and what page.
2.0
Exactly.
says, yeah.
I just need to get some of those pills that Bakh'abantu's on and bragging about.
All right. Well,
That's
when
cute.
you've read your constitution, Ryan, it may give you ideas of what you want to do next. You know, what sort of stuff you want to be involved in.
Sure.
Whether you want to become a human rights lawyer or not, you never know. A
Maybe.
gateway to a whole new world for you. Who knows?
This
Very
could be
exciting.
very exciting.
I've got mine somewhere. I've got to find the damn thing. I know it's here in my house. I've got so many books. And, you know, I was thinking about this the other day. What if my nephews don't want to read? What if they see, what if they grow up and I can tell that, like, what if they're stupid, which would be my worst possible fear,
Oof.
right? I don't think that's going to happen because I speak to them often enough and they don't seem to be like dumb kids at all. So that at least that's not, because then I would have just blamed my brother and sister-in-law. I would have said, you two are terrible at this, making children think. But what if they don't like reading books, or what if books are so outdated and old-fashioned by the time they grow up, or by the time they are adults, that they look at
That's
me and
like
go,
scary.
why would I want any of your books? I've got all of it on Kindle or something. And they look at me like I'm some kind of relic from the past. Then what am I going to do with all these goddamn books?
As well, right? Isn't that
Oh,
scary? Like the thought of like young kids looking up at books and just not being moved and going meh, and then just keeping it moving. Like that was actually one of my fears when I first became a new mom. I was like, you know what? I need to introduce books now while they're still young, so that as they grow, they are aware of the importance of books. Because I see around me with some of my family members who aren't as intentional with their kids, and the danger in just like not forcing your kids to read books, or reading your kids a book at night, or even you reading and your kids seeing you read. When none of that is a part of the household, then the kids are only going to be exposed to books at school. And no offense to
Well,
schools,
not really.
you see at school it's like
It's gonna be
it's
iPads.
positioned as a you have to do this. It's no longer a you may want to, because you'll learn so much. Not all kids are just drawn to learning things like that. So it scares me. To answer your question, Gareth, you will have to put it on yourself to be that uncle.
well,
On birthdays, gift them with books.
maybe.
Randomly just rock up with books at their house or something.
Well, I think so their parents are teaching them about books, so they do have books to
Yeah.
read, and they've grown up with a lot of that stuff. I just hope that it sticks. But if it doesn't, I'm
Sure.
going straight on Facebook Marketplace and I'm going to scam a bunch of people and try to sell them there.
Sorry, Lebang will be waiting for you.
Nah, I'll be there. Books are actually very popular on Facebook Market, funny
Yeah,
enough.
there we go.
Mhm.
I'm
Can I
sure.
tell you?
Mm.
My mom the other day, because I got my mom a Kindle like last year sometime, and so
Nice son you are, by the way. That's a
Yeah.
great gift.
she likes reading and books. I figured we can just grab them off Amazon. But
Sure.
the funny thing was, so my aunt has a book club, right? But none of them have actual books. So what they do is they have like a hub of books on like a USB stick. And then when they want to read a book, they all kind of copy off the USB stick onto their Kindle to
No.
read the book for
That's
that.
so cute and ancient. Oh, that's cute.
Well, I mean,
You know
it's modern considered, like with no
sure,
books.
but like USB.
Yeah, I know. So they literally have this. They send the book out for you to read. Then I have to like
Yeah,
load it
but
on the
hang on.
Kindle.
You know, the other problem with that is that obviously then they're not paying for it, so that I don't think
Well,
they one of them downloads it illegally, so the author's not getting any of that money. It's just
That's
they're all
what I was saying.
It's giving piracy. It's
Yeah.
giving Captains of the Caribbean.
yeah.
So I just thought it was funny because no one has actual books at a book club. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think book clubs are cute. Like for like middle-aged women, I love it. I think that's a cute thing. If I had more people and more time, I'd probably definitely like look into something like that. But none of my people are into that life, so. But it's cute.
Also, by the way, did you ever take your kids to the library growing up? Because when I was growing up, there was a library by my house in Florida that my mom would always take us to.
Oh, dude.
She'd make us get books out, and even in the holidays, she would drop us off there. And they used to have these little kid programs.
See, now we're talking. Now this is really old school because most kids. So I used to, my poor mother, I'd say to her, there's this huge big library in Pretoria where they have unbelievable research resources. They do everything from microfiches, which is something that's not going to be a thing for very long. Basically, and I think they've already digitized so much of it. But the Human Sciences Research Council in Pretoria, it's a big building. They've got an enormous library, just chock a block full of books. And, especially books about, South African history, that kind of thing. So you can find, I mean, if you're looking for family records, for example, they're the best resource you get. Now, I was like turbo nerdy just after high school, first couple of years of varsity. So I would like to go there and spend literally hours. I'd say to my mom, drop me off. This before I even had a car. I'd say, drop me off, and then I'll spend like 3 or 4 hours, and you fetch me at the end of it. And I became a member, and I would check out books like the proper old school way, right? I don't even think they do that anymore. I think you can go onto their website now. You just ask them for X and Y and Z. They send it to you. I suppose you
send you books.
That's so sad.
Not the books, but they'll send you the material you're looking for, like in a digital file. I don't know for a fact, but I'd imagine that's how it works. But what would worry me is because they've got such unbelievably valuable research material there, I hope to hell that whoever's in charge there now is looking after it. Because I really think that when the state or when public libraries or any of those sorts of places stop looking after those things, it's almost better if it goes into private hands because it'll at least be looked after properly.
Sure.
And I sincerely hope that that's the case, because otherwise I would go over there and I'd probably end up spending my last rand on stuff like that. And then I'd sit in a house full of books with no food. That would be my life.
Yeah, that's right up your alley. I just think the PR for libraries has generally kind of depleted over the years. They've never really positioned libraries as like cool and fun. I remember when they renovated the Sandton Library on Mandela Square. I think I was like in my teens. I was like, oh, this is gonna be so cool. Like, it wasn't this old, boring brick face building. Now it was like, the ceilings were higher, there were more floors, it was a bit more colorful. I went through like a 1 month excitement like period of going, and then after that I was just like, okay, back to real life. But again, it's just because libraries as a concept haven't been PR'd in that way. Like, this is cool, this is fun, this is great. It's always like, it's a place of books. But I completely agree with you, Gareth. Like, it would suck a lot if libraries weren't retained and taken care of and really looked after. They just they deplete over the years. They just kind of like disappear, and nobody even asks like, what happened to the library that was here? Life kind of continues. They'll tell you, no, your library's on your phone now, which is sad. I remember saying to my kids before they left, do you have an encyclopedia? And they just didn't know what that was. They were like, what is that? Because I was helping my son with a project. And I'm like, we actually just need an encyclopedia for this. And he's like, why can't we just use my tablet? And I was like, oi, you know what? I should probably just buy one for the house type thing. So yeah, in this ever-changing world, we just need to adjust and figure things out.
When I was in the US...
Sorry, Ryan. Tracy says she was browsing through an antique shop a while ago, and she saw a first edition of the Dutch version of De Bond van der Ring, which is the Lord of the Rings. Not for sale, but beautiful. Wow.
What a find.
That's pretty cool. Yes, you were saying?
When I was in the US, we went to Lawrence, Kansas, and they had just built a brand new library. Like it was literally like 2 months old, and we
Yeah.
went to see it. And I promise you, it is probably one of the most incredible things I'd actually seen on the trip, because when you walked in, so you had all the books, right? Like there were 3 floors of books and stuff. Then you had CDs, DVDs, and I think there was some vinyl, and they had players for them that you would go and sit there. And then, this made my whole thing, was if you went to the bottom, they had a free studio for any musicians who wanted to come and record, state of the art. And I'm talking,
So cool.
it had Pro Tools, which I used to do my stuff with, Logic. They had bass guitars there, like just like bass normal guitars that you could just like play with, and pianos and headphone setup. So you could book it for a couple of hours at a time for free. Kids in the neighborhood could just come and record their music. And
I
you know,
love
as a sound engineer, when you see that kind of stuff, because that kind of stuff here, I mean, you're looking easily 800 to 1,500 rand an hour to for a decent studio. You know, I'm not just talking like speakers and a mic. This thing is soundproof. It's got beautiful like wooden floors.
The whole 9 yards.
I couldn't believe it. And I was like, so this is for free. Like anyone can just come. And they're like, yeah, they have local bands that just come through, rappers who come through, they bring their beats, and they just sit and record all day.
I love it.
That's dope.
That'd be cool if we could have something like that. I would love that.
Yeah, this is South Africa. Like, my first thought is all of that equipment would be stolen within a week. So no, but it's a good idea.
Listen to Zach. Zach says, my 15-year-old daughter has just decided to open up a bookstore. I couldn't be more proud, Dad. That's cool.
Aw, that is so cool, Zach. Nice.
If you can crack the formula of like distribution, it'll make money for sure.
But these days, I mean, these courier businesses are so good.
Yeah. I mean, on Instagram, you can run a whole business.
Post office, but yeah, you can use couriers there. They'll be good. And the nice thing is, like, you could have a little bookstore in some small town,
sure,
and you can still sell to people all over the country, or even the world. If you set it up properly and you have like a good catalog of stuff. I don't know how it would work, but there was a time where I used to buy just so many books on Amazon, but now it's such a schlep to get them into the country that I just don't even bother. I just don't bother. And plus, where the hell am I going to put more of them? It's just
I used to buy vinyls. I used to import vinyls from overseas.
Oh, really?
As well. Oh yeah, I have a whole vinyl collection at home. I love it, but just to get them in, I mean, you're paying import fees, which is ridiculous, and then you always take a gamble. Like Amazon's a safe one; they always send it via courier, but sometimes they send it to the post office. And I waited, I think, 6 months for one vinyl to come.
Louise.
And then if it comes, it's banned because they didn't stack it properly. Or
the worst is that you get it, and then their taxes.
Yes.
The duty to import the damn thing is more expensive than the actual product.
And they don't even tell you. Like, at least Amazon, when you order it, they tell you up front how much it's going to be. But at the post office, if you get like one of those little letters saying that you have a package there, it's like going to gamble because you don't know how much you're going to pay for the import fees. And then if you don't pay, they don't release it to you. So
forget about the post office, guys. It's literally one of the most outdated and ancient freaking things that are still in this country. They've got this new WhatsApp line where you can order your license disc for your car. All you need to do is like take a picture of it, send it to them, send a copy of your ID, and then they'll deliver it between 3 to 5 days. I've been waiting at least like 4 months.
No.
Not 4 months.
Is this a post office WhatsApp line?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I've been waiting.
I'm sorry. A website for you.
That sounds very dodgy. You don't want to send people pictures of your ID and your driver. This is like identity theft 101.
No, exactly. For me, it's not people, it's the post office, right? So they kind of already have all that information somewhere in there, right? That's what I thought. Then they start sending emails. There's delays. I'm like, I could have physically just gone there myself and just done this. I did this WhatsApp thing because you guys were like, we're selling convenience. It's the most inconvenient thing because now when the cops stop me, I still don't have a license, but I've already paid for one. It's Hogwash.
If you show them the receipt, you should be okay. If you show them that you have paid,
yeah, they
should
don't care
let you
about that.
off.
That's not
Sorry.
their business. They like, for as long as they've
like
stopped the
scam.
car and you are failing to produce it, that is a fine. That's literally a fine.
Scam. It's another scam. I'm sorry.
Gareth, no, it's a real thing. Come on, dog, don't say that.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a real thing. It's just
I've
a long
never seen
wait.
it. I've never seen it.
What?
I use another website where you can order it and they send it to your house, but that's via courier as well. It takes like 2 days.
No. This is a real thing. It's guys.
All right.
You know what?
All right, listen to this, because we have been trying to find over the years. I know this has been a big thing, and there are a lot of companies that have tried to do this. But you went to the launch, Ryan, of some events-based app, and people are always looking for somewhere to go. They want to know what place is cool. They want to know where people are drawn to, what sort of place is the trendiest and most interesting place, where are all the cool people going. You think they finally cracked this? Is this what you went to?
From what I hear, so basically it's this new app by a company called Verve, right? And so they do a lot of Friday night, Saturday night events, mostly around Johannesburg that I know, but I think they're looking at going like national. But they've decided to come up with this app where if you wanting to find something to do on a Friday or Saturday night or whatever, it was like a launch of, it hasn't come out yet to the public, but they kind of just telling us where it's going, and people are going to be investing in it. And so you could basically open the app and have a look based off your area where you are, what's happening in your area, and have links to tickets and things like that, like find out all the information. And I mean, it's even going as far as if you're going to a festival, they even you can like add friends and members, and then you can track them with live location at festivals based off like a map on the app, which is quite cool. Like, I don't see many apps like this now. Like if you not on Instagram, you kind of don't know what's happening these days, right?
Well, how does it even, without sounding like someone who doesn't go out anymore, because I'm not, but how do you even know what's going on anymore? I used to be word of mouth. People would tell you, well, this is the place that's happening. I think that's still largely what goes on, and you can't really beat that. But it's almost like if they just got the formula right, they would know that they could put up like this is the size of the queue outside, and they could like show you a picture of the place, or show you what it's like inside, what the music's like. You know, I suppose I've always said that there are 3 ingredients to a good party, right? First one is good music. Well, no, good music is number 1. Second one is drink, because people in South Africa especially, we don't know how to party without drink, so you have to have drink. And the third one is cool/good-looking people, because it doesn't matter how drunk and how good the music is, if you aren't around cool, and by cool I mean your friends, the people you actually want to be with, and if you're single and on the hunt, you got to look for good-looking people. If you have those 3 ingredients, it's gonna work. It's gonna be a 10 out of 10 party every time. If you've got 2 of them, it'll be all right. You'll have an okay time, but you won't love it. And if it's only 1, it's gonna be shit.
So I must say, a friend of mine, who's now relocated to England, in the year 2009, had developed this exact app where whatever parties are happening, it's all found on this one app. You could get the tickets on the app, the location. You can even book like a maxi taxi to come and fetch you and take you to this place. So it's just it's crazy to me. What a revelation that like there really truly is nothing new under the sun. But in his case, I think he was just way ahead of his time. Like during those days, like apps were so foreign. You know, we're still using our BlackBerry 33. What are those BB? We're still using BBMs and buying that 60 rand a month. So it wasn't really like common, and I guess there wasn't a place for it. But he was so ahead of his time, and he tried to sell this concept, and he went everywhere. Nobody bought into it. Nobody really understood what it really was and what it meant. So it's interesting to see that all these years later, you know, it's now something like this is kicking off. I guess timing is just so important. You know, in the world of innovation and coming up with stuff. You know,
Oh,
you can come
time.
up with a great idea, but like it's just the wrong time.
Tell me about
And
it.
then, yeah.
We came up. I say we. Me and four of my friends, while we were still at varsity, we came up
Mm.
with essentially. This is in 1999. It was essentially a Facebook before Facebook, but
Whoa.
I can even prove. I can show you all the stuff.
Really?
Yeah. But our timing was off. So
Sure.
Was it like a program that you had written and put out,
no,
or
dude.
was it
It
like
was, it was,
a
it was a
just an
social.
idea?
It was like an alpha kind of social media site. We connected. It was only at varsities, which is exactly
Mm.
how Zuckerberg
Literally
4
Facebook.
years
Yeah.
later with Facebook. It was only at varsities. It would allow people to set up a profile,
Mm.
connect with other people on that network. So it was a closed network for universities.
Mm.
It was news and information. It was like humor. We had articles. We had all kinds of contributors all over the country. It was a serious thing. And
Sure.
the .com bubble crashed just before there was that whole
The
thing
.com
before we,
era. Yeah.
before we could become anything really big. But again, like Lebang says, timing is everything. So
Truly,
I
truly
know
is.
all about that. Like you could have been talking to
But
Mark Zuckerberg this morning, but
Gareth,
whatever.
do you ever like look back and say, "Oh, what if things were different and we had brought it to market during the right time?" You'd probably be some gazillionaire somewhere, just like
I don't see a
living his
downside.
best
What are you getting at? What are you getting at? Like, what do you?
life. I'm getting at the fact that some people kind of just get stuck on what could have been. Like, this
Oh no,
one time when I was in my 20s, I made this game that was so great and everybody in my neighborhood loved it. And then 10 years later, somebody else did the exact same thing and that person got rich and
uh,
famous.
no.
Like some people just
Move
get,
on. No,
yeah,
I don't know. I really don't hold on to things. I mean, this is
yeah, you don't.
probably if I had. I've got two things that I'm really, really pleased about that I didn't earn. I didn't do it. I didn't work for. They're two things. They're two characteristics I have that I'm thrilled I have. I wouldn't want
Mm,
it any other way. First one is I am able to move on like almost instantly from
Yeah.
bad or negative experiences, disagreements with people, arguments, fights. The kinds of
yeah,
stuff that most people get very caught up in, and they stay in that, and they don't ever let go. It becomes like an obsession with them to get back at that person,
sure.
um, or they never deal with it properly. It bothers them forever. It affects their self-confidence. None of that shit with me. It just like moves right ahead. So for example, if you and Ryan and I had to have a massive argument this morning, and it was like, let's just say it was the worst kind of argument ever, and we said terrible things to each other, just terrible, terrible things that most people would never forgive. Within not even a few hours, I would be completely back to normal. I would have let go, moved on, not care, no interest. I'd be like, "Hey, Ryan, hi, Lebang, how are you guys?" You'd be like steaming still.
Yeah.
I've actually seen you do it.
Yeah, no,
It's
I've
very
also seen it.
confusing. I've seen it like
And then
12 o'clock, Gareth is storming out the office. 1 o'clock, he's like, "Tra-la-la-la-la, life is fine."
you know, I understand why it pisses people off who are not like that, because they're like, "But fuck you, we had a fight, and like I'm still dealing with this, and you've moved on."
Yeah.
So I know it must be difficult for people to understand if they're not like that, but I think of it as a major plus. It also means I don't retain a lot of
Sure.
negativity. The
Yeah.
negativity kind of washes off of me like a duck's back. So that's good news. The other thing that I've got is that I'm not emotionally as attached to stuff as other people are. Now, obviously, there are exceptions to that rule. You love your family. You when you're in a relationship, you can easily get your heart broken like anyone else. But I don't go around trying to fill the emotional cup, like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
They basically spend their life trying to make themselves meaningful to someone, or someone to be meaningful to them. And it's not a thing with me. So I think of those two as being superpowers. And therefore, if things don't go my way, I'm okay. I like pick up
Yeah.
their things, move on very quickly, which is good. Good. You don't want to be hooked up on something that happened 5 years ago that you're the
Sure.
only person. Like, you still care about it, but everyone else has stopped.
Yeah, and you're mad at that. You're mad at the fact that nobody's like
Yeah.
giving a crap anymore. You're literally the only one, and you're probably the only one that still remembers as well, because like
Correct.
things move so quickly. You know, social media has like a 7-day cycle. Like, you'll be trending today, and then tomorrow it'll be like on to the next trend.
Yeah.
And it gets like that over time. It's just gotten quicker and quicker and quicker, actually. So
So
it's in your
Snipes,
best interest to keep it moving.
speaking of which, Snipes says here, the Zulu kingship is now in court. What if there ends up being 2 kingdoms and they become Israeli-Palestine mini war, then escalates to 72 years? Hold
Oh,
on,
yo,
Snipes.
that's loaded.
Okay, so this is interesting for a number of reasons. So there's this one prince who claims he should be the rightful king and not Misuzulu, who's been throned already as the king. So they cannot come to any kind of agreement on this. So this prince, Simakande, I think his name is, he decides he's going to take it to the court, right? Take it to the legal system, the South African judicial system, to decide, to arbitrate now, to make the final decision on who should be king. And the judge in that case has decided, no, Misuzulu is the king. You got to give it up, dude. There's no evidence. Your claim is a disaster. Now, that's all good and well. I was, in any case, just based on what I understand about hereditary law and even customary law, it was clear to me that Misuzulu was the king from the beginning. He's already occupied that throne for some time now. He's the direct descendant, not the eldest male descendant, or not the eldest male relative, which is the way that it should work, as I understand it. But what they've done here, and what's disastrous about this for Zulu customary law, and this is the truth now, whether you like it or not, right, is that they have suborned themselves to the South African legal system, which in any case they were subject to, right? Because customary law does not equal the actual constitution that Ryan held up just now. The constitution is the supreme law of the land. All other law has to be subject to that law. So if you have some customary rule that is in conflict with the South African law, the constitution, and all of our other statutory and common law, then that stuff has to change. The customary law must change. But what they've done here is they've taken essentially something that is customary, that doesn't have a place in the constitution or in statute or in common law even. And what they've done is they've subjected it wholly and entirely to statutory, customary, and constitutional law. So what they've done is they've essentially said, our customary law is inferior, and we need to go to the actual law to figure this shit out. So I'm afraid if you've got pride in being Zulu, if you take pride in customary law, if you are like Patekile Holomisa in Transkei, who believes that this stuff is very important, we need to run our lives by it. This is a massive death blow to customary law in the country, because it means, sorry, after all the other kinds of law, right at the bottom, there's this thing which nobody really takes seriously because it doesn't count. It's not applicable. And even if you think it is, you can still challenge it in a court and it suddenly dissolves. So it's a very bad move. I would have immediately told this Prince Simakande or whatever, like, don't do this, dude. What you're doing is you're making our law even more flimsy, watered down, insecure, unnecessary. It's a bit of a death blow to traditional leaders in some ways, because forevermore the precedent is now established that even for things like the succession of a monarch, which should be entirely customary law, it shouldn't have anything
100%.
to do with it. But now, you appeal to the courts. So what you're saying is your customary law system is inferior.
It's inferior,
Sorry, tough titties. That's how it's going to be forever.
And so now, if this thing is settled in court, they have to abide by this. Like, this is the final
ruling.
Yeah, no, it's done. There's no greater authority. You can't appeal now to anyone else.
Okay.
So that's a sad state of affairs that I saw on TV last night briefly. I mean, it's not even a story that I was that interested in, because it's just so tacky. It's like clearly this guy wants a piece of the action and he's not entitled to it.
That's all. It's giving like
It's
put
just-
us in, just like squeeze us into things where we don't actually belong. That's all that it feels like. And you're right, Gareth. It kind of makes the whole thing then just it's questionable, right? It's like, if if customary law is that good and that important and that relevant, for lack of a better term, then why would you need to go the other side to solve your problems if you can't solve your matters within your own, It's pretty
it makes customary look stupid.
It does, which sucks.
Dumb move by all the alternative succession people in KwaZulu-Natal. John Bad Dog says a lot of people can't move on. I found saying sorry helps them let go rather say sorry than you might explode. Yeah, I think just to go back to that, for many people, moving on is a very difficult thing, and they need closure of some kind. I mean, this happens with it happens with loss, it happens with breakups, it happens with theft, it happens with people who feel hard done by in a situation at work. Sometimes they just need you to say sorry, even if you don't really care. You just have to say it just to make them feel that way. And they can move on. Yeah, just lie. I mean, normally I wouldn't advise that you should lie, but in this case, if it's just to make someone feel better and there's no cost to you, of course. What is it?
Like Carl.
What do you mean, like Carl?
Carl Dos Santos?
Carl Dos Santos yesterday when he was saying in the comments.
Oh,
yeah. How he just doesn't cost him anything.
Yeah, he said he asks his wife how her day was, even though like he just knows he's going through the motions because that makes her happy. But that's not a, you see, there's no one getting
that's some jolo. That's some jolo 101. Relationships be like that. There's things that you're just gonna have to do that have very little to do with you and are simply for your partner because you know what makes them happy. That's that's that on that.
So we were talking about the post office and Amazon. Apparently, Amazon has announced that it will launch amazon.co.za in 2024, allowing South African-based sellers to reach customers nationwide. This is excellent news.
I love that.
In a statement issued on Tuesday, Amazon said over 60% of sales in its store are from independent sellers. Many of these are small and medium-sized businesses providing a vast selection of products, competitive prices, and great convenience for customers. Starting today, independent sellers in South Africa can register their businesses on Amazon. And Amazon Sub-Saharan region general manager Robert Kuhn said they look forward to launching amazon.co.za in South Africa.
Can I tell you why I like this? Can I tell you why? There's nothing better in the world than competition. Because competition allows competitive pricing, better service delivery on either side. It's not a monopoly of, if something is bad, it's going to be bad. Now there's competition in the game. Now everyone has to step up. Who's going to be the best?
Every Red Bull needs a monster. Literally, that's like marketing 101. For as long as there's only one brand monopolizing the entire market, they can do whatever they want, say whatever they want, price things at however they want, and we're screwed.
Look at Eskom. That's a perfect example. There's no competition.
Yeah, 100%.
And so we're suffering. But now all companies have to step it up. I like this.
I think it's cool. I think mainly for like the small, business owner who just has a product that they are pushing from their back room and they've been just selling it online and, they had very few distribution options. Now they have access to Amazon. So that's the thing I'm really looking forward to the most is seeing, what that's going to do for some of those guys.
I do have to bring up this story because it was also trending yesterday on social media. Apparently, this guy was faking having a heart attack so he wouldn't have to pay the bill at a restaurant. But he did it. He did it 20 times.
Aibo.
Yeah, this man would go into restaurants. He would see the bill. Then he'd pretend he's having a heart attack. He'd fall down. He's a 50-year-old Lithuanian man. He was apprehended by authorities in Spain for doing this. He's said to have defrauded the restaurants. The bulk of his binges was at the Costa Blanca region in Spain. He would allegedly put on an exaggerated theatrical act after ordering food and beverages, holding his chest and pretending to faint on the floor. The con went well until one of the business owners spotted the guy's performance and began posting images of him at other area restaurants, advising people not to fall for his heart attack performance.
Tusk.
That's so embarrassing.
What a douche, though. You know,
like
it's like
at the very least, do it in different like spaces.
No,
That's
it's
like
like-
going to every single restaurant in Joburg and just like fainting. Like, dude, come on.
thinking
Strategy.
there's no one else going to the same restaurant and then maybe the same one that you go after that. It's like those two South African guys who were pretending to be food testers for KFC. Remember?
That was impressive.
They were going like
Wow.
from KFC to KFC, telling everybody, no, we are actually food inspectors, and we're here to check that you're doing it properly, and blah blah blah. And they managed to get away with it for, I don't know, 50 times, maybe more.
Fake food inspectors, fake lawyers, fake doctors. South Africa really is the promised land.
We started this discussion about that Dr. Matthew the other day. We found out about this fake Kenyan lawyer yesterday. There's another fake doctor they arrested apparently this week. And now you hear about these fake food testers and these guys faking heart attacks. Yes, as people are crafty. Hey?
A lot's going on.
The hustle's real.
Yeah, no, in Cyril's economy, you have to really get creative about how you survive. Like, I can't afford to eat. Let me just, put on this badge that says I'm a food inspector and knock on all the KFC doors. If anything, they're not going to question if you're real or not. They'll just kind of go with the flow and be like, oh, yes, come on in, bite into this drumstick. They'll just go about their day. So I'm not mad at that. I think that's pretty creative.
Well,
so you get caught.
We have,
I
think we have a pretty cool interview coming up. I actually did it just yesterday with Sello Maake kaNcube, who is probably one of our most famous actors. He really is extraordinary. He's been on all the soap operas and he's been bloody good at all of them. He's also done The Lion King in London. He's done so many interesting shows.
He's so good.
He's performed play after play after play. He's performed Othello internationally. He's performed so many of John Kani's plays. In fact, that's the reason that we decided to talk to him this week. I mean, there's always a good reason to talk to Sello, but he's got stories to tell. He popped in yesterday. I think you're going to enjoy it. That's coming up just after 7 this morning.
He's like one of our OG celebs. Like, if you think about who are the OG celebs in South Africa, like, firstly, we actually don't have celebrities in South Africa, but he's really up there. Like him, Karabo Moroka. I mean, she's obviously not Karabo Moroka, but she'll always be Karabo Moroka. There's an era of, celebs who will just always be that, and we'll never see that again. We'll just simply never see that again.
I've never seen Jane freak out for a guest so much before in my life before yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Sello walked in and she lost her mind.
Yeah, no.
I don't think Dory told her that he was coming. And so when he walked in, you should have seen her face light up. Like she was.
Yeah, no, he's icon level.
Jane is she pretends that she's not like starstruck, but man,
some
of the guests you just see Jane is like super excited to see. It's unbelievable.
You see it in her eyes, like they light up, and she goes, "Yo, hello," and
also,
then it's over.
She has pictures with a lot of the celebrities from when they first started coming to Cliff Central. Like from years ago. Yeah. So like yesterday, she took the pictures to the office, Sharina, the picture of Sello from like, I don't know,
then and now. Yeah.
Then and now.
Yeah.
And it's actually like unreal how many photos she has with like all these really cool celebrities that come through here.
So I saw, this is amazing. I was going, you know how Facebook sometimes churns out these things for you where you got like memories from 10 years ago or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah, on this day, 10 years ago.
That's it. So Facebook sends me this thing or comes up in my feed, and I hardly ever go on Facebook anymore. I I was obviously bored, and who really goes on? So I go on, and it reminded me that I've interviewed William Shatner.
Oh, wow. Of course you have.
I promise you, I I had no idea, but I've spoken to William Shatner. How
You
fucking
had
cool.
no idea?
No, I couldn't remember. I don't remember
Janet
talking
doesn't.
to him.
You don't.
Yeah, you don't
really
remember
recall stuff,
everyone.
yeah. Like you'll be surprised on that, but you've spoken to so many people.
I don't remember this. So it comes up and I'm like, wow, did I really speak to William Shatner? Turns out I did.
What a life.
My biggest thing was when you told me that you spoke to Howard Stern all those years ago.
Oh, yeah.
That was like a big
that one you won't
That one
forget.
is huge.
That you
I
remember.
That I remember. Yeah, I was on his show in 2001, 2001. No, 2000. Went to his
So
studio.
he still had that long hair with the glasses, like those 90s glasses.
Yes, absolutely. Awesome. And he interviewed me for, I don't know, 20 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah.
That must be one hell of an experience.
In fact, it was definitely the biggest audience I'd ever reached in my life, or probably ever will. It was like 27 million people or something in America that listened. I remember I got messages from South Africans who lived in America who knew me and couldn't believe I was on that show. Yeah, that's huge. That's insane.
What station was he on back then? I mean, I'm trying to track back.
They franchised his show across the country, but the studio was at K-Rock in New York, so it's on 57th
What, even at
Street.
that point, it was franchised.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, what they called it, franchised, but there's a word for it. It was I can't remember what the word is, but basically stations all over the country would buy his show, and they'd put him on in the morning. Yeah, syndicated is the word.
Oh,
so
yes.
All of these different channels, and they would all pay for it. I mean, it to this day, I think, is still the most successful commercial radio show in history. And that was when it was still on FM as well. So it was before satellite came along and all that stuff. But I did go and visit them once they'd moved to Sirius XM in sort of just opposite Rock Center in 6th Avenue. But that was in the days when they were still in the K-Rock building, which was up on 57th. And it was a pretty amazing story. I'm glad I did it. I mean, listen, if you can meet the person who is the best in the business that you're in, and you get to spend time with them, they interview you on their show. I mean, I felt like
crazy.
This is the craziest thing ever. And I was 22, 21, 23, somewhere around there. So it was pretty insane.
G, do you have like a favorite interview that you've ever done? Like out of all of them in your entire career, is there one that every day you say that's still the best that I've ever done? Or are they like a number, like a couple? And I'm sorry, I know this is the Gareth Cliff show. We shouldn't be interviewing you, but I'm just curious.
I'm also curious.
I mean, it's the toughest question. It's like, I would never make you choose your favorite child.
Sure.
You know?
Oh, come on, Gareth. No. Do you know how many times I've been asked that though? It comes up a lot. Like, out of all of them, who's your fave? I'm like,
No, you don't choose a favorite. No, I've done so many that, as I just mentioned, I can't even remember some of them. And these are supposedly big names. I find that the best conversations I've had are not necessarily with very, very famous people. It's sometimes the most interesting people you can talk to are, it's like some person off the street, some phone call that comes in, and you end up having the most incredible discussion with this person about really amazing things. Look, I hope that every week we have someone amazing on the show. I hope that every month there's some real highlight. I hope that every year has been special in some way. I can't choose just one.
Okay.
I wouldn't know where to start. Mostly because I can't remember half of them. But also, people immediately assume it would be the most famous people.
Yeah, and that's not always the case.
And sometimes those are the ones that stick in your mind the most because they're really important people. But actually, I mean, some of the best stories probably aren't like that. And that's one of the reasons that I enjoyed talking to Sello, because he's got great stories. He's really got it.
No, he did have great stories.
Sello has a way of kind of feeling like just a person that has experienced all these amazing things. That celebrityness, I think, doesn't come out, if that makes
Not
any
at all.
sense. You know, like he doesn't move like a celeb. He just moves like a guy that's lived this great life, and he's so relatable and so easy to vibe with.
Mm. And he's moving into like wise elder territory now.
Yeah,
So
that beard. Oof.
when he talks about his experiences in the early days of theater with like Gibson Kente and people like that,
Wow.
that's some story stuff. That's the kind of
Sure.
stuff that you put in a book.
Yeah, defos.
I wonder if he's working on one.
Someone here, Slippery Pickle, says every day the comments section is amazing, but it's great you guys try as well.
Lol.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And somebody says Luzanne says that the funeral parlor mortician guy has to be up there. I don't remember that. See, I really don't remember. But I'm sure it was, because people are so interested in death and what happens to you after. I was actually talking to somebody just yesterday in a meeting. She suggested a guest to us, who's the director of a cemetery in Johannesburg. So I've said, yeah, absolutely, we must get this person on. I mean, that'll be fascinating, right?
Oh my gosh. I'm sure the things that
the
that happen
stories.
there. Oh.
Definitely. So you can get that.
I remember when you had like tattoo artists come into the studio one time and you interviewed them. This is long ago when Cliff Central first kicked off.
Oh yeah. No. We've had all kinds. We've even had people come in with like wild animals and sit there and the animals just growl at you or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think there's any kind of interview that you haven't done. You've pretty much done like everything that there is to be done.
Except for like the Queen, but like
careful, because if you say that, then the party's over. Like
No, of course not.
Repeating the hits. No, there's still lots to do, and there's still lots of people who have stories to tell. There's plenty of places we haven't been yet. Listen to this quickly. This is just the last bit of news I want to throw in here. So apparently there was this guy who got into a fight with a grizzly bear once. Okay, he's like a Navy veteran, so he's not some dude who was wandering around in the forest and managed miraculously to survive. This is a tough guy. He survived a grizzly bear attack, left him without part of his jaw. He's preparing to be released from the hospital and has some fighting words for the bear. He says, "I'm coming back. I will win round 2."
Oh my gosh.
Full nuance.
I like people like this. They're either going to die a grisly, horrible death, and I use the word grisly, with determination there. But he's 61 years old. He cannot wait to get out of hospital because he's going back into the forest or whatever to find this bear and fight it again, round 2.
Why?
We could never have bears in this country. Can you imagine?
So the grizzly bear left a large scratch down his right chest, bit his arms, his legs, and to top it all off, he gave what Rudy describes as the most disgusting French kiss of his life before biting down and tearing off his lower jaw.
And he wants more.
Wow.
My chance. Let it go. Let it go. And you're like 60 something. It's over. It's done. This is probably the most exciting thing that's happened in your life. Let's be honest.
Just unreal. Is this guy? You think that there are people who are they're on a mission to get themselves killed, but they want to do it in a big way.
Yeah, they want to go out like rock stars.
I mean, if I had narrowly escaped losing my life to a grizzly bear and I'd lost my lower jaw, and they managed to reconstruct his face, but I mean, he can't look great. I don't know what he looks like right now. But if I'd managed to survive that, I would count my blessings. I'd go home. I would never look for trouble with nature ever again. I'd be like, you know what? I got through this one by a ball hair. I'm not going to mess with anybody again. This is my lesson. This is my message from the universe to just stay at home.
Exactly.
Don't cause any.
Just sit still and just love your wife. Drink tea. Keep it moving. That's it. Just drink tea.
And man, just quick, before we go into, because it's now just after 7 already, before we go into the Sello interview, this has been a hell of a week. We had Sello Maake yesterday, who's an actor.
Yes.
We've got Sello Maake kaNcube today, who's an actor. And on Friday, we've got Shamila Miller, who's also an actor. She's been on before. And the three of them are here basically to argue with me about what I've said. I mean, I didn't really get into this with Sello, but about how I was, very mean about the actors' strike and the writers' strike in Hollywood. They're all standing up for actors' rights. So don't let it be said that when I say something, I'm not prepared to argue with the people who are in it. They're all coming in to take me on, and I'm happy about that.
Good for them and good for you.
Awesome.
All right, when we come back, we will get to Sello Maake kaNcube, who is one of South Africa's most famous actors. He's coming up next. Don't go anywhere. CliffCentral.com.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's kind of the hot topic. Yeah. Speaking of, so one of the new energy solutions that have been flagged right now is hydrogen. So hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. And I don't know if you saw it yesterday. I mean, you were there. But Toyota and Sasol and the company called Air Products basically collaborated to introduce hydrogen fuel cell vehicles in the country. I mean, it's been around for a while, hydrogen fuel cell energy, but I don't think there's actually a vehicle in the market that's, hydrogen fuel cell that you can just go and buy. I think they're still kind of trialing it out.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
I thought you told me it's over, baby. Gonna find you another lady. It's been weeks since you've been around. You keep on dragging me down and down. My bright, beautiful everything. You keep on dragging me round town. My bright, beautiful everything. You keep on dragging me down and down. By the way, I never told you, there ain't no way I'm gonna fool you. You got me wrapped around your finger, and forever right there I'm gonna linger, baby. You've got me tied up on a leash, walking up and down streets. I'm a good boy.
There's great benefit in intravenous therapy if you use it for the correct indication and if you use it safely, because things can go horribly wrong in the blink of an eye. This is why, walking into a store and picking something off a menu, you don't know what the protocol should be. You don't know whether this is really appropriate for you. If you want to do something like that, go to a medical practitioner, address your concerns. This is what I'm feeling, blah, 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 because it might be something completely different, an underlying condition that you're not aware of. And yes, that practitioner can prescribe intravenous therapy for you, depending on your medical condition, your history, the medication that you're taking, and ultimately the diagnosis that you have.
That was the T Health Show, empowering you with knowledge. Download all previous episodes on your favorite podcast platform. The T Health Show is brought to you by T Clinic.
All right. It is just after 7 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, and time for us to spend a bit of time with one of South Africa's greatest actors. He is a true South African himself. He's well known to all true South Africans. Sello Maake kaNcube. He's a local soap hero. He's the director of international stature. Archie Moroka, his most famous role, at least in generations, talks us through the history of some of his other outstanding work over the years, including an original John Kani production that he's involved in right now. And until Sunday, Sunday's the last day that they're on, you can get your tickets and go along to the theater on the square in Sandton. It's always great to spend time around someone who's as good at what he does as this man is. And that is Sello Maake kaNcube. So take a look at this. Here it is. Strap in as we go down memory lane with one of South African entertainment's greats. It is no surprise that when you think of South African film, television, and theatre, one name comes up consistently. He is Sello Maake kaNcube. He is a South African actor, and you know him. You'll know his face if you don't know his name. He's worked in South Africa, the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Europe. Best known for his leading roles in the long-running soap opera Generations as Archie, which, of course, they made an ad with you in it just recently. ETV soap opera Scandal, and as a villainous character called Lucas Daniel Nyati in that one. Also performed with the Royal Shakespeare Company at London's West End. He's born in Orlando, Soweto. He is Sello Maake kaNcube. So it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Gareth, it's such an honor.
You know,
Such an honor,
you're really you're an institution in this country, and I don't mean like a lunatic asylum. I mean like you're one of those people who everybody has seen something with you in it, and you are beloved in this country.
Hey, it has been such an honor, you know. And talking about being beloved, you know, it is so amazing that every time when I meet or bump into people, and you just receive love. I mean, people say, Archie.
Must be nice. I have no idea what that feels like.
You know, I tell you, it is, I mean, I get so much love. And, you know, that was something that when I was in London, you know, I mean, I was in the UK for like 5 years. But, you know, coming, you know, intermittently, you know, after maybe a year or two. And the one thing that I used to miss was that one thing where you find somebody, you bump into somebody in the street, and they could be in their own world, maybe dealing with their own issues. And once they clock you and realize who you are, and their faces just brighten up, and all the worries that they had of the world almost just disappear. And I mean, the worst is actually when the person says, you know, kilo wina lo to
or they say to you, do I know you from, like, I'm sure I've seen you. Have I met you at a family function? You're like,
no.
But you reminded me, which I'd completely forgotten about, that I saw you once in London.
Yes.
I came to watch you in The Lion King, which is the only time I've ever seen it, because, I mean, how do you get better than the West End, right?
Exactly, yeah,
and,
yeah.
I mean, I felt like a big deal because I was like, I know that guy. And I mean, I didn't really know you like friends, but I was like, this is somebody I know from South Africa.
No, but I remember distinctly, you know, coming out of the stage door and you guys were standing outside there, and it gave me such a warm feeling.
A bit of home.
Exactly, yeah, I know.
Sello, you're involved, speaking of productions, now you're involved in Nothing But the Truth, which is John Kani's play.
Yes.
And this is amazing stuff. Apparently, it's an incredible show. I haven't seen it yet. People are telling me very good things about it. Bakh'abantu, who works with us, went to see it last Sunday. Okay. First of all, he felt like he was, you know, he's solely responsible for keeping the theater industry alive. He's very full of himself about going to the show.
Okay. That's good. That's
like,
good.
I'm supporting the arts.
Please. You know, we need a lot of actually the black middle class coming to support the theater, really.
But I'm really happy because he really wanted to go to this show. It does please me when I see young people, especially people who you wouldn't expect. And in South Africa, we don't have a lot of people who are theater-minded. I mean, you see them going to these things and thoroughly enjoying it, and then coming back with only praise and you know, compliments to the crew and the cast and everything else. Very nice to hear.
No, it is what I guess it gives one a good feeling, you know. And I'm one, you know, to actually, you know, contest the whole thing that there isn't a lot of support for theater.
I'm pleased to hear that. Tell me.
Especially from the black middle class. You know, I mean, as much as we would like, you know, to say theater should be theater for the people. Yes. But, hey, man, we got to accept it is a highbrow entertainment space. You know what I mean? And the people who can basically support the theater is the black middle class. Those are the ones that, you know, basically would have even disposable income.
The means.
You know, to come, you know, to the theater. And also it is a space that is, you know, designed for the intellectuals. You know, I mean, as much as the ordinary person would come and enjoy theater, but it is an acquired taste.
Well,
you know,
I mean, you say that, but what's lovely about this particular show is that it is also now a matric set work.
It is.
So many more people in South Africa will have been exposed to it
Absolutely.
at school, and therefore they may want to see, one of our best actors doing it on the stage, and not just reading the stuff in school. So that might be an attraction.
Yeah, you know what has been wonderful, because I've got posters on my car, and when I go to a garage and you find the petrol attendant and says, "I did this in matric."
Oh, really?
Yes, and the unfortunate thing is he doesn't have the means to come to theater on the square to come and see it, and also I don't have from the Joburg Theatre, Soweto Theatre, the curators of there coming to see the play and maybe say, hey, can we, come and perform it and do it in Soweto, so that at least it will be closer to the people and closer to those, who have a relationship. And a lot of young black, young people have read the book at whilst doing matric, but they haven't seen the play.
So Sello, I know it's not your problem, and you have you have enough on your plate at the moment with acting and directing and all the other stuff that you've done in your time. But how do we get more people to come to the theatre and support the arts live?
Look, I think it's going to be a twofold thing. We've got to produce very good work, and I've had people, talk about there's, screen acting and theater acting, and I tend to disagree a bit with that. And for me, there are only two types of acting: good and bad.
I love that. I love that, because the first thing people will do is they'll say, "Oh no, we need it to be supported," and you'll sometimes say to them, "But what if it's not good?" Then people
exactly.
Not only will they not support it, but they'll have a bad taste in their mouth because you tried to force them to support.
And I think that, and there are times when we do bad acting in the theater and we call it theater acting. And when we tend to look, and when you look at things, unless you're doing a particular type of theater, be it, pantomime or melodrama, but most of the time we're trying to do naturalistic and, more on the realistic side of things.
You're exactly the person I can ask about this, because I don't think you've ever done any bad acting in your life.
I probably have.
I don't know, because the reason that you've been so phenomenal on soap operas, and we've got to remember, in this country, more people watch a soap opera than will ever go to the theatre.
Yeah.
So it is the main interface, and you have to fish where the fish are. But what's amazing is that when you play a character on a soap opera, you take it as seriously as you would in a feature film or in a one-man play or any of that stuff, because to you, acting is acting, right?
Exactly.
So when they say to young actors, and I don't know who says this, but this is what I've heard, correct me where I'm wrong.
Yeah.
They say to them, people on stage have to overact a little and people on screen have to underact a little. You say that's nonsense.
Let me tell you what it is. In these two mediums, you're dealing with space. When you're dealing with space, with camera, you're dealing either with, BCU, close up, mid, that's the space that you're working in. And you've got a mic that is closer to you. And whereas when you're dealing with theater, you're dealing with the space, And what is it that, people who go to the theater, what are they called? An audience.
Right.
Which means you've got to be heard. Not that you've got to overact.
Right, they're not idiots.
Exactly. Exactly. And for me, the good example, have you ever been, in fact, the most fascinating part is actually when you go to, let's say, a gathering in the township, in a tent, and there, for instance, maybe even at churches where there are no PA systems. You know what I mean? The person who's going to be standing in front giving a speech or whatever is just going to be aware of the fact that they've got to be heard. So they're going to raise their voice. But give an actor that very same, let's say, speech that the person gave at a funeral, then the actor is going to be, and then
overdoing it.
And overdoing it. And I think the best lessons that one can actually get out of acting is by observing life.
But how did it happen for you? Because
Mm-hmm.
I do want to go back a little bit. You know, we're not just here to talk about what you're doing at the moment.
Yeah.
And you've done so much amazing stuff. How did it come so easily to you? Because you seem like you're just a natural. Is it because you've had so much experience? Or is it because you had great teachers in the beginning? Or did you just figure it out on your own?
I did actually because I'd never had any formal training.
There we go.
You
There's
know.
some talent you can't learn.
Yeah.
You know?
But what has been interesting, it is actually just how, because I started with Gibson Kente.
Yeah,
And Gibson
wow.
Kente's acting was melodramatic. And even prior to Gibson Kente, there was, amateur, township community theater stuff, And I remember many who used to have things like, you got to have stage balance, and like, what, mama? And we would walk
balance.
Stage balance.
What is that?
I
What
know.
stage
But
balance?
hey, that's what we used to tell each
So
other.
they
No,
told people.
And then I moved to Gibson. And after Gibson, basically the second play that I did after Gibson was Albert, at the market. And I remember now that's where it actually hit me. After doing Woza Albert, Woza Albert was an international hit. And I think we did it for like a year. And then thereafter, I started having to go to auditions. And I was not booking anything. Bro.
Why do you think that happened? Because they associated you so much with that character?
No, it wasn't it. It wasn't even that. But this is what happened. I remember one time coming out of an audition, and as you walk out of that audition, you didn't get it. And I was feeling like this.
Man.
And I remember on my way, what I did was, on my way home, there was a video shop. And I went into that video shop, and I don't know, I picked up 5 movies by Jack Nicholson. Princess Honor, One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest, The Shining, Terms of Endearment, and Chinatown.
Wow.
I don't know why, but I picked up, those movies.
Okay.
Went home. I watched them one after the other. And I think I was just trying to, to find some escape. And after watching them, I remember thinking, damn, I haven't started acting. Because when I looked at what Jack Nicholson was doing,
Yeah.
I then realized that, hey man, there is something more to acting. And I watched them again and, several times. And just watching the difference of him, playing the lunatic in The Shining.
Yeah. Oh, in The Shining.
In The Shining.
Pick a
And
movie,
then,
he's a lunatic.
Exactly, and then, but also as a lunatic again.
Yeah.
In One Flew Over Cuckoo's Nest. And then in Chinatown as a detective. And for me, that's when I began, starting to observe that kind of naturalistic acting for myself.
Someone once said to me on the topic of Jack Nicholson, is you could have complete chaos. People breaking chairs on each other's heads, knives, guns, fireworks, animals, all this stuff. And you could put Jack Nicholson on a chair in the corner of the room and all eyes would be on Jack Nicholson, regardless of everything else, all the chaos happening. And it's interesting that you brought him up and that he, at that time when you were feeling down because of that one audition that, by the way, good thing for other actors and aspiring actors to hear from someone like Sello. You don't win all the auditions.
No, you don't.
Not all of them go your way. But Jack Nicholson has always been, he's one of those people, he's just got this intensity about him. Huh?
Exactly.
And
exactly.
you got that. You've also, when you are on screen, whether you're playing the villain or the good guy, and I think you have more fun with the villain. Everybody likes
I had more fun though playing the gay guy in
did you?
The Queen.
Prancing around.
I had a ball. I got to do things that I wouldn't normally do as a man.
So that's interesting too, because a lot of people love playing the bad guy.
Yeah.
But you do it again with such intensity that it's not, you don't say things in an angry tone. When you say things, I've seen you perform on TV and in theater and everything, where you're like, you just got this cold intensity that also I think now of Nicholson, and I understand there's a connection.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, but it's my first acting lesson. I always say, in fact, when we opened the Nothing But the Truth, and Dr. Kani, was there, and he was also in the inaugural recipient of an award that I've actually conceived, and it's called the Kenny Majosi Legends Award.
Yes.
Now Kenny Majosi was he played Sikalo with Gibson Kente, and he happens to be my uncle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I decided to create this award because somehow I'm finding my life is almost coming full circle. I've been in fact, with doing Nothing But the Truth. I remember as a young, 27-year-old coming to the market doing was Albert and meeting Bra John for the first time. Then it was, we used to call him Bra John. And just saying, Bra John, one day I would like to see myself, really, following in your footsteps, And here I am now. I'm doing a play that he has written,
Is it difficult to calm yourself and be, because John Kani is a big name internationally, right? He's a
Tony Award winner.
Right. This is not some schmuck who's written a play or two.
Exactly.
This guy will go down in history in South Africa for being one of our most prolific and brilliant playwrights.
Absolutely.
And when you're one of our most brilliant and prolific artists, but actors, but you got to also kind of pay homage.
Yeah.
And does it feel different when he's watching you do it?
I don't know. He has watched me before, doing other works.
No, but when he's in the crowd.
Yeah, and it was very, I did feel a certain kind of intimidation knowing that he is in the audience that, on the opening night. But also it was like, what? I think, and I went with the idea that he's not. I've known him being in many plays that I've done at the market, that he would be in the audience, and I took it and say it is one of those that I will just have to do what I do best, and he will either compliment me or and he has even given me advice before. I remember I can't remember which play that I did, and he was there on the opening night. And his observation and I forgot to tell you, to say this, his observation that he gave me, he said, on the opening night, it is a night where as much as you know that you've got your own pace, but take your time. Take your time. Tell the story.
Because it's the first night.
It is the
show.
first night.
First opportunity for people
he said, in your nerves, just remember to slow everything down. And just tell the story.
That's interesting.
I know. So for me, like on the, doing the opening and knowing that he was going to be there, and having conceived this Kenny Majosi Award for Legends, and that Kenny Majosi was the first person to give me my acting lesson, I think in 1975, and the very first acting lesson he gave me, he broke down the word actor, and he said, A stands for action, C stands for creativity, T stands for technique, O stands for observation, 3 stands for reaction. All these 5 things you use as an actor.
Oh, and switching your phone off when you're on stage. That's a big... Isn't that the worst? Okay, because when that happens, like, luckily this is just, we'll edit that out. When people have no respect when they go to the theater these days. Doesn't it drive you up the wall? Because it happens, right?
And the weirdest thing is actually because they're in the dark and you see a person going, the phone lighting,
And sometimes the same person's phone will ring twice in a show.
And then the worst is actually when now they want.
Oh my God! And they're not allowed to do that.
And they're not allowed to do that.
Very bad form. Sello, this show is actually about this country. It's about our history. It's about 2 brothers. It's about freedom. It's about a lot of things that are very South African. Now, a lot of people kind of know these things from family, from friends. They have an understanding of it. But you grew up in Attridgeville largely, right?
Yeah. I was born in Soweto, but I grew up in Attridgeville.
I know Attridgeville quite well. Attridgeville was one of those townships. It was a little bit different. And I know every township's going to say they're a bit different, but Attridgeville was actually a very close-knit community.
Yeah.
You have the church there on the hill. You have people who were like, very connected with each other.
Yeah.
It's not, it wasn't like these sprawling great towns. Now it's changed.
Now it's changed, yes.
But in those days, it must have been an incredible place to grow up because we always focus on the bad. People go,
Yeah.
oh, well, under-resourced. People, I remember as a kid, and this is in the 80s, so it's before the end of it. I remember these men in these beautiful suits.
Attridgeville
was
a place of style.
It really was.
It was. And it was style in music, in clothes, and music.
Language.
And also, I remember speaking to Zakes Mokai. Zakes Mokai's memories. Actually, when we did a movie, I used to hang around with him a lot, and and imbibe a little bit, together. And in one of our, hanging around, and he used to love a screwdriver.
That was his drink.
Yeah, vodka and orange juice. And I think we have had one too many. And in that space, and he just goes, gosh, I miss the love of my life.
Oh.
And she starts talking about his love or the love of his life, only to discover that the love of his life was my standard 4 teacher.
No.
I tell you.
Did you tell him?
Yes. And I said, Brother Zixman, the person that you're talking about sounds like a lady like this, and his name is Modisel, and his name was
So
Dike Lady.
He
and we
didn't
used to,
tell you. He
the
didn't tell you that
name,
detail.
yes.
You
He was
figured
just
out.
described, yes. And he just went, don't F with me, boy.
Really?
Don't F with me. I said, no, but that's what I feel. And that was her.
That's incredible.
I tell you. And I think my connection with him, then it actually just became something else,
So look,
But yeah.
you're also. I mean, you're a really good storyteller. But to go back to this story,
Yes, I mean, you're
Is
talking
that-
about nothing but the truth.
and the environment here, and for us to cast our mind back. I mean, most people were not alive at the time that this is set.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were, they weren't paying attention. They're young. But where do you draw on the experiences? And I mean, like, what kind of behind the scenes research, in inverted commas,
Yeah.
can you do as an actor to make it as authentic as possible?
I mean, I don't do much research. And I think the most research that I have done in my life was observe human behavior. And I think that's the best, foundation
Right.
that an actor can lay for themselves. And to observe, and this goes back, I've actually, taken what my uncle taught me, about, action, creativity, technique, observation. I think the most important thing that an actor has got to be taught is observation. And that observation now, it's observing life outside and then observing life inside. Basically, observing life inside is observing yourself. That if I'm going through emotions or whatever emotion, whatever situation, any person that when they're nervous, they just go through the state. But as an actor, you got to realize, this is how I am when I'm nervous.
That's very interesting because
Because you've got to know, because
self-awareness.
is self-awareness. At the end of the day, all the emotions that characters undergo are emotions that you have experienced yourself.
Otherwise, you won't relate to it.
Exactly. And as an actor, you have got to have the ability to recollect that sensation on demand. Like a musician will actually play a chord on demand because they've learned the chord.
That's amazing. and it's also a sign to me that you have to be intelligent as an actor, because I always think intelligence isn't how much you know, it's how much you want to know. It's how much you're observing, how much you're curious, you're paying attention. So you have to be interested in people and in things.
Exactly. And acting is a science. And every person who undergoes, whatever through a scientific or process, they will go through, experimentation, classification, deduction. You go through all these things that a scientist would have to do.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what an actor has got to do. For me, an actor has got to know themselves like a musician would know their instrument.
Okay, so we're talking about actors and we're talking about acting. And in South Africa, we don't really have... I've heard this a lot of times, and I've even been one of the people who said, you know, there are a lot of actors, especially these middle to lower level actors, who they'll do any job because they need the money, and we don't have a lot of jobs that pay for
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
even if you're a good actor in this country, you still have to do some jobs that maybe if you were in the US or whatever, you'd say no to. Which is not a step down for those actors. It's an indication of how little there is in the industry. And
Absolutely.
so many people who want to be actors, so we've got a massive supply, but not enough demand in the market. They would rather go with a Sello because they know your value, they know you'll deliver.
Yeah, yeah.
And they'd rather put the budget perhaps towards getting someone like you to do something than
Sometimes
they would.
they don't.
Well, but this is what I want to get to with you, is because acting is, as you say, it's a skill, it's a science, it's a craft. The people who take it seriously, I separate them from the ones who just want to be actors because they want to be famous or whatever. And these days you got a lot of people on the internet call themselves actors, call themselves broadcasters, call themselves artists. And you look at them and you're like, you haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't hire you to like paint my garage, you know, let alone paint a painting.
Yep.
So how do you keep yourself grounded, but at the same time know your worth in a country where, unfortunately, for good or bad reasons, there isn't this enormous respect for or appreciation of the craft that someone like you has spent a lifetime perfecting? Does it sometimes get you down, is what I'm asking?
It has. I've had my moments.
I mean, like during COVID, it must have really...
Yeah. You know, I've had my moments. And, you know, and even before even COVID, I mean, you know, I've had moments where I've really, really felt so down and even wanted to quit the profession, you know. But you know, ultimately, you know, love for acting, you know, would just, you know, keep me at it. And in fact, I actually would want to say that I think doing The Lion King abroad saved me a bit.
Really?
Yeah. Because in a way, also, you know, in fact, I think being known also came as an obstacle for me, because now I couldn't do the observations that I would always do before I was known.
Because you would watch people, but they would see you watch.
Yes.
It would change. It's like relativity.
So, yeah, now when I walk into a space, the dynamics change. And now I'm the one who's being observed rather than, and that was, you know, so I think going away helped me a bit. And I came back hoping that now, you know, I mean, that 5 years that I spent, which was 3 years working and then 2 years studying, you know, doing my master's in screenwriting. And I hoped now I would want to actually come and, you know, serve almost. And one big thing that I wanted to do was to train actors to be multilingual. You know, and that was affirmed. It was an idea that I had before I left, but it was more affirmed when I got to do Othello with the Royal Shakespeare Company. And how it was affirmed...
Let me guess, you played Othello.
You know, you mustn't say that. You know, but you know John Machigiza?
Yes, I know. Well, I don't know him, but I know him by reputation.
But John Machigiza actually came to watch it, you know, when I was doing, and he had worked with the Royal Shakespeare Company. And after the show, he said, you know, I was in the production of Othello, but I wasn't Othello.
The only black guy in the show.
And he was the only black guy in the show. But yeah, and when I was doing Othello, it actually just confirmed, I think, the importance of an actor. Because I looked at, I mean, Othello, it was celebrating the 400th year anniversary of the play.
Jeez.
Not even Shakespeare.
Wow.
You know, and the question to ask is, what has kept the play alive for all those years? And what has kept it alive, it is because it has been performed throughout all those years. You know,
and the things that happen in that play, and I'm going to have to dig deep to remember a lot of it, but these are things that are still going on in society today.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, prejudice, love, hate,
you know,
all of it.
You know, and for me, it was like now. The importance of an actor is so. The importance of actor is such so important.
It gives,
Exactly.
And you know, they also say that a civilization isn't really cultured if it doesn't have a cultural output like the kinds of plays that John Kani's written. But
exactly.
I just want to go to one quick thing first before we get to that. Did you have a backup plan if acting never worked out? Because I'm sure when you're rising in the industry and you were a young man, you must have thought, well, like I've often thought, what's the best way to make money? I don't care if I don't love it. I just need to make money.
Because I never look. I mean, I know what I would have wanted to be had I not been an actor.
What?
A lawyer.
Really?
Yeah.
Oof. I went from studying law to this because I thought this is not for me. Horrible.
But I think it was inspired by, I watched, I think in 1978 or something, saw the movie And Justice for All with Al Pacino.
Oh, man.
And,
wow.
What is it? Do you see this man?
Yeah.
Judge Henry T. Flemings.
That's right.
This man must go to jail. He's guilty. I mean, a lawyer turning on his client. I mean, that, yeah. I mean, that, yeah, I wanted to be a lawyer.
You would have made a fine lawyer because a lot of law, especially when you're in court as an advocate or whatever in this country, a lot of it is performing.
It is.
You're performing for a judge. You're performing for in America, the jury.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. But let's talk about the play a bit. And this is something that I want to say about the play. You know, this play, Dr. Kani basically, kind of came with a groundbreaking work just immediately after the new dispensation. Prior to 94, most, of black theatre was protest theatre. And I think what Dr. Kani did with Nothing But the Truth, he actually combined protest with kitchen sink drama. But also, and I remember, there was one white actor who made a very callous remark that now that apartheid is over, what is black theatre going to be about? And I think that was an insult on saying that all what black people were doing was just amandla doi doi and nothing else. And I think what Nothing But the Truth manages to do, it shows that during that time of strife, people were falling in and out of love. And also there was sibling rivalry. There were parents, dabbling with how they love their children. Favoring others and not favoring others. And it just brings the human condition of black life just on the table, like it has never been done in any play before, and I think even after.
Well, that's probably why it struck a chord.
It did.
At the time and now.
And I remember watching it in 2001. I was 40 years old, and I said, you know what? I've got to grow up and play that role.
Listen, you can't be that old.
No,
I'm
63 years old now.
You look very good for 63, my friend.
Thank you.
Sello, you probably still getting offers to play 40-year-olds now. I think so.
No,
so
yeah.
You mentioned the script writing, and I think this is worth some reflection. So you studied script writing, and you got a master's degree in script writing at Leeds University.
Yeah, Leeds Metropolitan.
And writing is a very different thing to acting, but sometimes an actor can make a script better with their experiences. Which do you love more, if you do love one more? And if you don't, what are the differences between them?
You know what? I love acting more than writing. Writing is lonesome.
So you are more a gregarious communicator type.
Yes, exactly. So and writing also, I just basically go into it as a matter of necessity and saying there is a story that needs to be told. One of the projects that I'm working on is The Land Is Ours, the book written by Tembeka kaNcube, yes. So we do.
He was my lawyer against Mnet. he was the junior advocate on that case.
Yeah.
He's a very clever man. I've actually got that book,
Mm-hmm.
The Land Is Ours, in my office.
Mm-hmm. So we're doing an adaptation of it and turning it into a 5 episode series.
Wow.
Yes. But basically we calling it the Trial of the Ages, and so using the 5 black lawyers that Tembeka has written about, they are actually taking the historical characters, on trial.
And you're writing the script?
We're working on the script with some. I've got a team that I'm working with.
Sure, that sounds like a hell of a project.
Yeah, it is. It is, man. It is.
I think that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, no, it is.
So when you do something like that, it's more because the story needs telling.
The story needs telling.
You can bring your talents to bear. But you don't hate it. You don't hate the script, right? You just love acting more.
I love acting more. And like I say, I think there are stories that needs to be told, and South Africa hasn't really, in fact, when you look at the Land Is Ours, the Land Is Ours should be an epic story.
Could be a movie.
Not a series. A
mini-series. Like Game of Thrones.
Like Game of Thrones
Right.
type of thing. Because when it actually captures the whole history, of South Africa from the land dispossession, And, I was actually, one day we were having a Q&A, and it actually struck me that even in the play, the character that, Sipho talks about, people taking things from him, and black people have had things, the land taken from them, and that has been their lot in life. And for me, it was like almost realizing that, wow, this actually has that connotation, with Sipho's feeling like he's the unseen man, because that's another thing about the Sipho character in the story.
I wonder how many people in this country have a feeling of being unseen, a feeling of being devalued.
Exactly.
Because of, the obviously very, very messy history of this country.
Oh, yeah.
And it's happening all over the world now that people are starting to, your connection to the land, your connection to what you had before, what your ancestors had. I wonder how many people inside, are you allowed to infuse politics into what you do, or is it a necessity to do that? Because politics is all around us. Eh?
It is, yes. No, I think it's you cannot. I actually feel that somehow, after 94, we actually sort of like just went numb on the politics, especially in the artistic space, in questioning the establishment.
Well, maybe because partly of what that one white actor said about what is black theatre now without the protest. And maybe there was too much of a counter-reaction.
That there was too much of a counter-reaction.
So it all became a bit fluffy.
Yeah, but also I think, I had a very strange experience. I've always been a supporter of the ANC. And then one time when EFF had its rally in Soshanguve, Fana is a buddy of mine, and when I called him, I said, "Hey man, where are you? I want to come in." He said, "No man, I'm on my way. We're going to a rally in." I said, "I'm coming." So I went with him. To the rally at EFF, and when I was there, it actually dawned to me, and I realized that, damn, I've actually allowed my mind to be captured, because when I was there, I was actually in a different environment, and I heard different politics.
Did it change your political persuasion?
It didn't change it, but it awoke me to the artist in me that has actually gone dead somehow. And I remember, one, director who had an influence on me is Bunny Simon, the founder of The Market. And I can't remember what we were talking, and we were talking about somebody who had actually just gone very Christian. And Bunny said, that is going to affect his outlook on life. And one thing also, I remember him, I think he was actually having people on a tour. and he was asked whether, would he, only focus on anti-white politics or whatever. And he said, no, if you've got to tell a story, you've got to tell a story about the human condition from whatever angle. And I'm open to actually, if there is a white racist story, but as long as it explains the human condition.
Well, you can back me up on this, but it appears to me that the most interesting villains are villains that you can actually see a bit of yourself in.
Absolutely.
So you can't play someone who's completely evil without any nuances or differences in character or weaknesses or a backstory with some guilt and some suspicion and some trauma. Because if they are straightforward evil, they're not interesting.
No, absolutely.
Right?
And the human condition, the other day I was being asked, what is it that fascinates? I said, the human being, the human condition. You look at human beings are fascinating.
Where do you go to do your observation that you spoke about? The Owen acting. Where, do you just do it when you're out at dinner?
No, when I'm out,
anywhere.
Anywhere when I'm, and now, I think, now I'm, being older and a little, I hope that a little wiser.
No, you're wise. You certainly project the wisdom.
So, like now there is a certain, you don't actually feel the pressure to impress. You actually, things as they come, as you interact, there's observation that happens. And also I do have moments now where I can command when say, hey, no, hi, really. And just by age, and say, don't mess with me.
No, I think if you turned that on there, a lot of people would be very frightened of getting on your wrong side.
I must say this. We were doing Othello. And we're doing a technical run, and the technical run is like, they stand there, whatever. And sometimes actors, we tend to fool around,
Right.
and Sir Anthony Shea was still alive, and he was playing Iago, and I think they were doing it, and I just went, oh, come on, we're working here. Can we please be serious? And Sir Anthony Shea sort of like,
He was reprimanded. He must have been so embarrassed.
And then they said that, I'm only kidding. I said, just like, and that broke the ice.
But what a thing.
I know.
Because for a minute there,
you
had him convinced you were angry.
Exactly.
Jesus, Sello. I would shit
Cliff.
myself. If you did that, I'd shit myself. So what do you make of, because this has come up a couple of times in the last week or two, for some reason, I've had some actors in the studio, we've been talking about it. These strikes in Hollywood, the writers' strikes, which obviously affects the production of all of these shows. In this country, do we have any protection for actors at all? There's nothing, right? And we don't have anyone who's like going to be a safety net during times like COVID. You're on your own.
You're on your own. And I think, like, for instance, I think for me, I think, you remember, was it the Generation 16 or something?
Oh, yeah. When they just chopped generations to pieces, yeah.
And I think if there was a time that I think in the industry, we really needed to take a stance. That was the time to take a stance that we should have actually, all the other soapies that were working should have said, tools down.
Solidarity.
And that's the thing that we don't have in this country.
Who are the people who control the industry? Is it the commissioning editors? I mean, in TV, is it the channels?
I think it is the channels. It is the broadcasters. And because they are setting the tone of, for instance, the broadcaster would say, if you're doing a 13-part series, we will give you so much budget. And,
right.
So they are the ones who control. And sometimes people who actually end up getting the flag are the production houses. But I think also, I think the production houses somehow, they should actually, even at times, elevate themselves to a point where they've got to negotiate even a bit better. Because if I'm giving you maybe a series and then you want the second season of it, you know what I mean? in giving me the upper, then it should actually, help the actors too. And also, in fact, I think we need to actually get to a point where, things are actually just judged on brand value,
Yeah, I mean, you've invented characters. We talk about Archie.
Exactly.
I mean, these are things that, of course, they could write them, but you bring them to life, and then you carry that character around. Yeah, it's so funny. We talk about soap operas. That people believe that's real.
I know. I remember one experience that I had was when I was doing Generation. There was a scene where character of Pamela Nomvete, what an actress, what an actor, that lady. And her character, was swapping DNA results and whatever.
What was her name, the character?
Ntsiki.
Ntsiki.
Yes.
Oh, she was hated for a time.
I know. And so Pamela, one day I'm at a supermarket and this gentleman comes to me and said, Archie, I need to tell you this. You see the envelope that you're going to get? That is not the one. The real one is still with so-and-so. So just make sure that you don't accept that one. You take, you wait for that. And I can imagine that gentleman. And I just went, oh no, thank you, Daddy. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Shame,
thank you,
man.
Daddy. And I'm sure whenever he went, he said, no, I spoke to
I
Archie.
told him, but he didn't listen.
And basically when he said, I told you. He doesn't listen, this guy.
And I remember, Sophie and Daba was something else there too. And I remember the old theme tune. Whip, 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 whip.
Yeah.
That was, I remember watching it, and I'm not a soap opera watcher, but it was compelling stuff.
No, it really was.
That is a good example of, again, like South Africans, we like what we like. And that show had such longevity.
It has.
And such tremendous success. I'll never forget, I was so honored. They asked me once to just come on and do a cameo as myself. I'm a terrible actor. I couldn't act my way out of a paper bag.
But you can present yourself.
I had to be myself.
Yeah.
But it was so awkward and uncomfortable and weird. The whole thing. But to be on that set, because that show had such power.
Yeah, it did.
Everyone watched it. It was in prime time.
Yeah.
And most soap operas are not in prime time, even in America. They're not. They don't get prime
yes,
time.
and it was. Yeah, now that you say, yeah.
And I think that there are also things about being a household name that can be very advantageous to you. You've done commercials, you've done lots of stuff in South African, products and endorsements and events and shows and things.
Yeah.
But there is something that's, for a purist, would irritate them. It would be, I just want to act. I don't want to do all this other stuff, but you sometimes have to do it. Like I have to do, other stuff instead of being here talking to you.
Yeah. No, it has, and I remember, especially when the recognition or the notice, started happening, and then I get, you get invitations to go to beauty contests. It's like
celebrity stuff.
What is this? I'm just an actor. I don't do beauty contests.
Have you ever had to do like a matric valediction?
Those I actually came to understand much later. But the immediate ones that came was being invited to beauty contests, and I was like, "Come on, man! I don't know about this.
Do you sometimes, are there any roles that you regret, or are all of them part of your experience?
No, I don't think there's any role that I regret. No, they're all part of my experience. I've always, I don't remember, even if it has been a small role. And as they say, there are no small roles but small actors. For small parts, there are no small parts but small actors. Even if it was a small part, it meant something, to me. And Yeah, I mean, there are roles that I'm still, hoping that I will play, like King Leia.
Well, you've got to just grow that beard a little bit.
Exactly.
Just grow that beard a bit. You see, you could play that at 80. You could do that.
Exactly, And but one Shakespeare that I still wish to do is Macbeth. I did it when I was still
That's
when
Scottish play.
Yeah, that's good. When I was at when I was doing my matric. And the weirdest thing is, I've done Julius Caesar, I've done Titus Andronicus, and I've done Othello.
Those are the big ones.
They're
and
the big
maybe also Hamlet. Hamlet's a biggie.
Well, I think Hamlet. I'm a bit too young for it. King Richard would be a nice
There
one.
we go.
Richard III.
That's the one.
Richard III would be the one.
Now is the winter of our discontent. By the way, how do you? I mean, that is a rare moment where I'll remember something.
Yeah.
But how do you remember those unbelievable soliloquies?
Yeah.
Where you have to memorize page after page after page. That is a skill. It's a real skill. I do not have that skill at all. So how does it work?
The weirdest thing is, as I was recounting this and saying that if you would ask me to recall any of the soliloquies that I've done in the professional ones,
Yeah, like a
none comes to mind. But Macbeth that I did when I was still at school, I mean, I don't adhere to this tradition about Macbeth and whatever.
You're not superstitious.
Not superstitious about it. The most famous soliloquy, if it were done when it is done, to a world to done quickly. If this assassination could tremble up the consequence and catch with a success, that this blow might be the be-all and the end-all here, but here upon this bank and shoal of time would jump the life to come. That one is still in my head. Oh, my
God. You see the way you just did that now? I watched a thing the other day. I think it was some Royal Shakespeare thing. It just came up on my feed.
Mm-hmm.
And Judi Dench got up. Mm-hmm. And she just went at it with some thoroughly long piece of text.
Yeah.
But she delivered it so just like you did now.
Yeah.
And I just went, wow.
And the beautiful thing when mentioning Judi Dench, when we did Othello, she was doing, I think, when all's well that ends well. Yeah. And on
was that Midsummer Night's? No, it's not the same thing. All's well that ends well's got another name as well.
Yeah. But here she was on the poster, my face was here.
And hers.
And hers.
That's the company you should be keeping. And frankly, I'm not surprised that you would be on a poster right next to Judi Dench.
Yeah, no.
Who are your favorite actors?
I mean, locally, it is your John Kani. There was Darlington Michaels, Papa G. Oh man, you should have seen that guy in many other productions that Gibson did. He was just something. I mean, I grew up looking up to them, and Peter Spoomer, Vusidi Bakwani, and there's another one, Macintosh, while he's passed on. Those are the ones. Even one person that people don't know that is an amazing actor is Saul Rachilo. Whoa, amazing actor. I mean, he did. I never saw him in the old Athol Fugart's plays.
Right.
But I saw him doing Bessie's Coming Home. I think it was in 1981 or something. That's when I saw him, and but he has never worked really, as an actor. Those are, I think, and Winston John, Zakes Mukai as well,
Right, brought him up, yeah. Mm-hmm. You mentioned him earlier.
Internationally, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro.
There we go.
Jack Nicholson.
Those are the classics, right?
Morgan Freeman.
Oh.
There, and, British, Sir Anthony Sher.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you worked
Ian,
with him.
Ian McKellen.
So I heard this week that Michael Caine is finally retiring from acting at age 90.
I know.
So...
But isn't that beautiful?
It's beautiful. I could see you getting to 90 and going, all right, now maybe I'll give it a...
Yeah.
Because it is... if you're good at it, you just get better.
Oh no, you do. In fact, I remember reading a quote by Sir John Gielgud, and he is quoted saying, "It takes 25 years to make an actor." And it's true.
Yeah.
Because I think the more you mature, it's the more you understand, how you function as a human being, and I think that is why, even for instance, when you've got to cast a Romeo and Juliet, they were teenagers. You don't cast teenagers. You actually cast, 20-year, mid, early 20s.
Need a bit of life under the belt.
Yes, because you are, when you are an actor, and basically even in life, because as Shakespeare says, all the world is a stage and we are all players making, when you are an actor, you are not objective, you're subjective. And I think that is why even that's why even actors have to have a director. You know what I mean? Because you might be thinking that you're delivering something, but from your perspective, but it is not coming through. Now you need somebody who's going to help you make that picture that you are thinking, So and I think in acting, you all in life, it's almost like you learn with the benefit of hindsight.
You made me think of something now with it takes 25 years to make an actor. I think almost anything, life experience is part of it. You were talking just now about your experience of like going drinking with Brazeks, and you think about that, the greatest stories are sometimes the ones that happen nowhere near the stage.
No,
and you have these amazing moments of friendship, the story with your teacher, for example. And those are the kinds of things that memory is far better than the incredible career in your mind of someone like Zakes. And when people think of, I heard, who was it? Another great actor. I think it was Peter O'Toole.
Yeah.
Talking on one of the talk shows about how he went on a drinking spree with his best friend.
Yeah.
And they ended up going to this pub. And the guy wanted to shut down at like 3 a.m. and they said, just one more. And he said, no, it's closed. And they bought the pub.
Yeah.
They wrote a check. But they were so drunk, they went home and they woke up the next day and went, oh my God, we bought this pub. We better go and cancel the check. They got to the pub, the guy kept it. And so they became friends with this guy. And then when he died, they went to his funeral. But when they got to the cemetery, they saw these people wailing and crying, and they went up to the cemetery and they went up to the grave and they started wailing and crying. And then someone tapped them on the shoulder and said, I think you're at the wrong grave. And sent them down the way. Not to me, that story. And actors tell those stories so much better, I just love it. I love that stuff.
When you talk about Brazils as well, we in Zim, we're having drinks, and I've got a Zimbabwean chick that I'm dating there. I go to the loo, come back. She's not there. And that day, I actually got an acting lesson. So when I come back and I say, hey, what's Petunia? And Brazil says, Sello, don't say Petunia. Say Petunia. 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 Say, where is Petunia? Where is Petunia? Where is Petunia?
Was this meant to make you feel better?
Exactly.
What, did she just hightail it?
No, but she came back.
Oh, she did.
Then later, I'm doing a show. And dedicating it to Brazils. And I tell the story. The late Kiorapezi Khositsile, the poet laureate, comes on stage and he says, hey, that's Petunia's story got Zakes into trouble. One day he comes drunk and he forgot his key. So now he's calling, I think Haley was a jingle. And instead of saying, Haley, Kani. He goes, Petunia! And he had to answer, who is this Petunia? Gareth, man.
Listen, I love this. I love sitting talking to you.
Yeah, and it's been lovely, man.
You really are such an incredible guy, and it's such a pleasure to spend time in your company. I will say to everybody, do not miss your chance to go and see Nothing But the Truth. It is presented by Sello Maake kaNcube and Daphne Kuhn on at the Santon Theatre on the Square, so it's not inconvenient. Go along. Support local stuff, but not because you have to, but because it's fantastic.
Thank you. And we're finishing on the 22nd on Sunday.
So TikTok, everybody.
Yeah.
Get out there, and we will be playing this like now. So
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Sello, what a pleasure. Thank you.
Man, thank you. I've had such a
great to
beautiful
see you.
midday
I know.
chat with you.
This is great.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.